So usually when a new iPhone comes out, my reactions are like, cool, nice feature, that'll come in handy, it's about damn time, Apple. But I vividly remember September 2022, I was walking back home from school and I was watching the Apple event on my phone, and I saw that iPhone 14 Pro reveal video and I went, okay, come on, that's some good stuff. That's so sick, no way. Really? The best name that they could come up with is Dynamic Island? Yeah, it's still a pretty stupid name, but the point is, the Dynamic Island's been out for a year and a half. iOS 18's right around the corner, so how has it improved? And where is it at right now? And so with that being said, here is the full state of the Dynamic Island. Okay, let's start out easy. I'm talking basics of the basics: design, mechanics, and fluidity. So let's start with design. So for people who've been living under a rock for the past 3 years, the Dynamic Island is this little pill that sits at the very tippity top of the newest iPhones, and it can expand to show alerts and background content. Why did Apple put it at the top? It's so that they can turn this ugly notch that only housed camera systems into an actual software feature. Yeah, it's not a downside, it's an upside. Welcome to Apple. So when you have an activity running in the Dynamic Island, the island will expand horizontally to show only essential info. And then when you hold on the island, it'll expand a little more horizontally, and then it'll also expand vertically, turning it into a sort of rectangle with more info and more controls. You can also have two apps running in the island at the same time, and it looks something like this. So that's pretty much the basics of the design, but I wanted to talk about one thing. The Dynamic Island isn't just one seamless pill. It's actually a small pill and then a hole for the camera. And so when the phone's turned off and you can see this pill and hole, it kind of looks like a sideways eye. Now with this, there's an upside and there's a downside, so let's start with the upside first. So the benefit is that the little space between the pill and the hole can be used to show a green or an orange dot, signifying that your camera, microphone, or both are being used. And so it doesn't have to be stowed away in an odd location like every other iPhone. And it works pretty well indoors since you can't really see the seams, but the minute that you step into direct sunlight, that effect is completely thrown out the window. Even if you just point your screen at a light bulb, yep, there it is, clear as day. But I mean, you can't have the cake and eat it too, am I right? Unless you bake 2 cakes. Okay, moving on to mechanics. Like, how do you actually control this thing? Well, there's not much to say here. The Dynamic Island is basically live activities plus. So any live activity that an app offers can just be thrown straight into the Dynamic Island. And so we already know how to use live activities, that's a no-brainer. But during the honeymoon period of the iPhone 14 Pro, where the Dynamic Island made its debut, people had this one recurring question. Why is it that if I tap on the island, it jumps straight into the app, but when I hold it, it simply expands? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Personally, I think it's a small enough issue that you could really go either way. Yes, tapping to expand the island makes more sense, but the current method is also easy enough to get used to, so it doesn't really matter to me. But there is one bigger issue with mechanics that I found. If you hold the Dynamic Island to expand it, and then you tap one of the controls too quickly, like let's say to pause your music, it won't actually pause your music, but instead, it'll jump straight into the app, and it won't do anything else. It's only if you tap it too quickly. But I do that a lot. I think it needs to be fixed. It's pretty annoying. Okay, next up, fluidity. I don't really have an explanation for this. Just look at it, okay? It's so good. It's utterly butterly smooth. The only thing that I'd actually fix with fluidity though is if you have 2 activities running at the same time and you hold on one to expand it, the island will shrink and then it will expand. Seems a little jarring to me. Surely there could be an animation where it just expands, right? Alright, now that we're done with that, let's take a look at some core Apple functions. First thing that comes to mind, playing audio. Beautifully designed. I love how when it's contracted, you see the album art and a visualizer. And the visualizer isn't just for effect, it actually works. Shows left side for low end, right side for high end, just as it should be. Then you hold on it and you got further actions. You can favorite, you got your play pause functions, AirPlay, scroll bar. Beautifully designed, great example. The timer does exactly what it should do. It shows you the time remaining, and if you hold on it, you can pause or you can end the timer. That's all you need. Phone calls also work great. You see a little waveform, you see the time elapsed, and when you hold on it, you can end the call, change the audio source, see who you're calling. But okay, slow down. There is one thing that strikes me as a little bit odd. When you're speaking on the phone call, you see your voice projected on the right side of the waveform, and when the other person speaks, you see their voice projected on the left side of the waveform. But I think it should be flipped. Knowing that my phone is set to English and was developed in California, it's a little odd. Anyway, moving on to voice memos. It is so pretty. Like I've said this in another video. That's how good this is. And it makes the waveform in the voice memos app look like something straight out of 2013. And that's because it is. Another great one, AirDrop. It no longer pesters you by taking up the entire whole screen, and it's actually designed well. It's also just so good to see the progress of your AirDrop transfer in the dynamic island instead of constantly having to swipe to notification center and then again and again and again and again to check where your AirDrop's at. AirPods connected. It's simple and it's useful, and you can hold it to see the battery percentage of your AirPods. Just one question though. When we have this great thing in the dynamic island, why do we still put up with this that takes up half the screen? I don't get it, and it's also a 50-50 chance of getting either one. And finally, Apple Maps. It just shows you your next turn in the dynamic island, and it also automatically expands to show you when you have a turn coming right up. Love it. Great design, 10 out of 10. And there are also some core functions that have improved because of the dynamic island. Not recently, but hey, better earlier than now. Like, for example, low battery. When your phone used to hit 20%, there would be this stupid, annoying pop-up in the middle of your screen that said low battery, 20% remaining, and it would not go away unless you chose one of the options. Best example of nuh-uh. Now Apple has taken out the annoying factor. It just pops up in the island and it says, hey, you have 20% battery left. Okay, bye. What's still weird though is that Apple's kept the annoying pop-up, the full screen pop-up, on every other iPhone without the dynamic island. So if you don't have an iPhone 14 or a 15 or a 16 lineup or 17 lineup phone, I don't know where I'm going with this, then you are going to experience hell. Okay, now moving on, you know what's a great complement to the dynamic island? The action button. It's currently on the Pro models, and it's going to make its way to lower-end models soon. Now, the action button has a few presets, and they all look pretty similar in the dynamic island when compared to other devices. Here, I'll just show them. But there's one feature that the action button does that you can't really get on any other device, and that's translation. Providing that you want to translate to a language that the Apple Translate app has, it is the most beautiful thing ever. I'm just going to try it out with Spanish. Hola, ¿dónde está el restaurante? Yo quiero la comida. And the words, they light up as they're being spoken out. It is the most well-animated, the most pretty. I'm running out of adjectives here. Okay, second last topic, the things that Apple could have done and could still do for iOS 18. And we gotta address the elephant in the room, notifications. They don't appear in the dynamic island. They just appear how they've always appeared. Honestly, it should have been the first thing that came to Apple's mind. If Concept Central can do it, then Apple sure as hell can. Similarly, Siri. Why is it still at the bottom of the screen? Just put it in the island where you already have a dedicated space for it. Again, Concept Central did this 2 times. So why hasn't Apple? Oh, and how about the newly released Apple Sports? Surely that would be the perfect app to put live stats in the dynamic island for games. Like, it's perfect because Apple's already done it. Massive events like the FIFA World Cup in Qatar had live stats in the dynamic island through the Apple TV app. So you've already done it, no excuse here. And finally, another thing from Concept Central, sorry I'm stealing all of these, but a clipboard. A clipboard in the dynamic island. It's so useful. I would use this all the time. And frankly, I don't know why macOS doesn't have one. It's a desktop computer. It should obviously have a clipboard, but that's a conversation for another day. And finally, let's look at some third-party apps that have support for the dynamic island. And the first thing that comes to mind is Fluidity. Fluidity is probably one of the best, if not the best, designed third-party app on the iPhone. Seriously, it looks like it was designed by Apple. And clearly, Apple thought so too, because it was the only third-party app to make it into Apple's iPhone 15 commercial. Look, there it is. And Flighty Dynamic Island support has become so valuable to me that I've actually started paying the weekly fee whenever I go on a trip. Next up, Uber. Of course, it's definitely not as good as Flighty, but it's still up there. It achieves its purpose of showing how close your driver is, and when you actually get in the car, showing your progress for the ride. And this is done without you having to open up the app 300 million times. So I give it a good grade. What I don't give a good grade, though, is DoorDash. At least for now, because they've apparently been rolling out their Dynamic Island support for months, and I still don't have it. Like, DoorDash is basically as bad as adding this feature as WhatsApp is with adding every feature. Like, where the hell is iPad support? It's probably in the dumpster outside my house. An app that I give a mediocre grade to is ChatGPT. Yes, it achieves its purpose of continuing the conversation even when you leave the app, but there aren't any animations in the island, making it seem pretty amateurish. But hey, at least ChatGPT made it into the island, looking at you, Siri. And finally, an app called Saturn. It's an app where people in high school can message other people in the school, and they can see their schedule in one place. The app has Dynamic Island support, but it's worked about 2 times this entire school year. So I give it a really bad grade. And anyway, that's it for this video, so I hope you learned something new, and thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and also comment down below what you thought of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!